Okay, and just make sure you're right up to the microphone, and I am going to ask you the jurors' questions, and I read them as I tell every witness, I read them exactly as they're written. Okay. All right. Given that Mark was in the military, had you found that his, quote, speech, quote, had changed?
Not that I can really say.
Was the word, quote, surveillance, quote, a word that Mark used prior to joining the military?
I'm sure that word was in his vocabulary and that he would have used it previously.
Is it common for your contact with your brother to be in cycles? Meaning, are there times when your contact with Mark ebb and flow depending on what's going on in your lives?
To some degree, yes.
And by the way, I forgot to make a record that the court acknowledges the presence of counsel, the defendant, and the jury. All right. When you were interviewed by police the first time, was this before or after you knew Mark was arrested?
It was the day of. They were questioning my brother Mark at the same time they were interviewing me.
Jake, Mark, and Samuel, are you the youngest three brothers of your family?
No, we are not. My brother Jake is the fourth oldest.
Have any other siblings quit the Mennonite church?
My brother Jake is no longer part of the Mennonite church, nor is my brother John.
So the next question is, if yes, do you or them still attend church?
I do not currently attend a church. I can't accurately speak for my other siblings.
Do you consider yourself I'm sorry, let me repeat this. Do you consider yourself a progressive Mennonite church member?
I have never been a member of a Mennonite church.
Do you still attend a Mennonite church yourself?
I do not.
While in the Mennonite religion and their belief, when did Mark learn to use a firearm, specifically rifles?
We grew up using rifles for hunting and recreation.
Were all of your family members raised around firearms, including rifles?
Yes, that is correct.
Any other questions from the jury for this witness before I turn the witness over to counsel for follow-up? Okay, apparently not. Mr. Barker.
Thank you. On that last topic with the rifle, were you aware you had a .22 caliber rifle?
I was aware my father had given him one at some point.
All right. You were asked a question about did your communication with, I'm paraphrasing again, with Mark ebb and flow depending on what's going on in your life. Would you agree with me that that 90 minutes or so you spoke on the phone on January 18th, 2020 was the longest you ever spoke during that year-and-a-half period?
No, that is not correct.
On the phone?
On the phone, yes.
Thank you. By a long shot, right?
Yes.
You were asked a question about the police interviews. You were being interviewed around the same time that Mark Gooch was being interviewed, right?
I believe so, yes.
But this wasn't an interview. Yours wasn't an interview in a police station. It was on your porch.
Correct.
And it was just one officer asking you questions, right?
Correct.
How long do you think that interview, the entire interview, lasted?
I would say approximately 15 minutes.
Thank you. That's all I have.
I'll make this witness be excused.
Yes, thank you.
You are excused. You may step down.
Can we approach it?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Barker, you may call your next witness.
State calls.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? This you do under the penalty of perjury?
You may proceed when ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Andrew Ernesto Luna.
Thank you. And where do you work, sir?
I work for the Coconino County Sheriff's Office.
And in what capacity?
Currently, I'm a detective with the Coconino County Sheriff's Office.
All right. Back in 2020, let's say February of 2020, what were you doing?
I was a patrol deputy assigned to the Flagstaff District for the Coconino County Sheriff's Office.
All right. And how big is that Flagstaff district?
It's extremely big. We usually break it down into either you go east or south. To give an example, east is anything north of Towson, Winona, all the way up to Tuba City and a little bit further. And then east and west in all directions, Kachina, Mountain Air. It's extremely large.
All right. Would it also encompass the Sunset Crater area?
It would, yes.
Now, some of that is a national monument. Does the sheriff's office still patrol that area?
Yes, we would patrol it, and then we respond to calls that do not fall under the purview of the Forest Service or Park Service.
Got it. Now, how long have you been with the sheriff's office?
I've been with the Sheriff's Office for approximately 4 years now.
4?
Yes.
Okay. So last year would have been about 3 years?
Yes.
All right. Let me ask you about a specific date then. February 21st, 2020. Do you recall what you were doing on that day?
Yes, I was assigned to the day shift for Flagstaff Patrol District. I was assigned to go east, which would encompass everything north of Towson, Winona,
Okay.
east and west.
And the day shift is what hours?
So day shift, I was early car that day, so day shift, depending on the shift, would be from 5 to 6 at night.
And did you get a call out to the area of Sunset Crater National Monument?
On that day, yes, I did.
When did that happen?
So it was approximately about 55 hours. I just finished back in a deputy. We were serving some civil papers, and dispatch advised of the call that was at the Sunset Crater area.
All right, you said 15.
It was about 15:55.
All right, so that would be
3:55, sorry. 3:55.
Sorry to talk over you. Almost 4 p.m. then.
Almost 4 p.m., yes.
Gotcha. And then did you respond to that call?
I did, yes.
And tell us the route you took. Well, tell us where you were and the route you took to get there.
So previously to the call coming out, I was on Loop Road, just past Towson, Winona. We were serving some unrelated civil paperwork for a subject. It required 2 deputies. And so I went immediately from there, Loop Road to Towson, Winona, went up Towson, Winona, got on 89, went north on 89. There's a Sunset Crater sign with an exit. We refer to it as Forest Service Road 545, and I took that right and went to first I went to the ranger station.
All right. Road 545, is that a paved road?
It is for the portion that would get you from, reference this case, yes, it does turn into dirt way further down, but it is a paved road.
All right. And is it traveling west-east-ish?
So if you're going northbound on 89, it goes east or west.
Okay. So that is paved, it was paved up until the point where you got to the scene?
Yes, for everything related to this case, it's paved. It just way down the line, it becomes dirt.
All right. Now, the scene we're talking about, was that right off that road?
No. So I stopped at the ranger station, which is right off of Forest Service Road 545, and then I proceeded to Forest Service Road 244, which is where I met with the Forest Service officers that were on scene.
Okay. So you first went to the ranger station and got some communication about where you were to go?
Yes, I met with the reporting party, as well as there was an on-duty Park Service ranger supervisor on duty with her.
We heard from Cynthia Schultz. Was that the reporting party?
Yes,
Okay. So she was at the ranger station when you got there?
yes.
And then you said you went which direction?
So I would have continued eastbound on 545, and then it would be, I'd argue, northeast to go on to the 244 road just off of 545. It's about 5 miles from the ranger station.
Okay. So you said 244?
244, yes.
And that runs just, I guess, just perpendicular. So was it a right that you took at that point?
So I went down, there was a U.S. Park Ranger, I guess, patrol vehicle, fully marked, right there on the side, and I took that right onto the 244 road.
And 244, is that paved or dirt?
It is dirt and cinder mix.
How far down that road did you have to go?
I went utilizing the odometer on my patrol vehicle at the time. I was 0.1 miles down the 244 road before I came up on the Forest Service officers.
So not far off of that main paved road.
Yeah, not too far off.
Once you parked your car, where did you go?
Once I got out, I met with the 2 Forest Service officers on scene. And to my left, so it would be again heading northbound on the 244 road, they walked me to where the deceased was.
All right. Describe the scene when you got there.
So I got there, it's a dirt and cinder area. There was not a lot of people just due to the time of year. Well, there was really nobody out there. It's a forested area, big trees, cinders everywhere. We walked out on the cinder area deeper into the wooded area till we came across the deceased.
Now, the cinders you're talking about, it's littered across the ground, right?
It's everywhere.
And does that make it hard to see footprints?
Extremely hard, yes.
These are almost gravelly, right? So you can see impressions, but not necessarily any tread. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then when you got to the deceased, describe what she appeared.
So as we walked up, I could see the deceased. It appeared she was face down. She had on like a white jacket, a long, what looked like a gray colored skirt, and she had on brown hiking boots. There was nobody around her. Made our way over there to where she was. Her hair was in a bun with a lot of bobby pins, and that's about it. I do.
111, is that a photo of the deceased?
Yes.
And then the other exhibits are 149, 150, 151 are those maps in the area you just described.
Yes, they're just aerial views of the area.
111, 149. Sorry, 149 through 150.
Any objection? Exhibits 111 and Exhibits 149 through 151, correct, counsel? Are admitted. You may.
So where that red dot is, that's the 244 road, the road that it connects to just before the red dot. That's the 545 road that was taken. That would also lead you to Sunset Crater, and that's the road that goes from the ranger station. I believe so, yes. I would say yes. It's about 1.1 miles, if I'm guessing or estimating. It looks correct, yes. Yep. So where that red dot is, if you can see that, that dirt or that road that goes towards 89, it's, so basically it should be this road right here. So I would have been coming this way on 89. I would have taken the right. I'm going to estimate it about there. You follow it down the ranger station, continue 5 more miles down, and that's what puts you towards the 244 road. Took the 244 road to the red dot. Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's in Coconino County, yes.
Let's go to Exhibit 1. Actually, let's go to Exhibit 109. This was it. Let's just talk about the cinder area. Do you see the deceased in this photo here?
I do, yes, right here.
Just point out.
So all of the, this grayish material right here is the cinders. It's very fine. A good gust of wind will blow it in any direction. Same thing with tires and people walking, you kind of can kick it up. It's just a very fine cindery material. There's the trees I was referring to, and then just the regular bushes and kind of, I don't want to call them leaves, but the offsprings of the bushes. This is the deceased that I was led to. I was able to identify her kind of as I described. She had on what I would refer to as a white jacket. I believe this to be the color gray with a long skirt because it goes to about her ankles. And then these were the brown in color hiking style boots that she had on. And it's kind of hard to tell there, but it looks like you can kind of see the bun that she had. Yeah, it's with bobby pins in her hair, yep.
Now, when you approach the deceased, how close were you?
So we got close enough, I believe this to have been a pocket. So I reached out, so I was close enough to reach her, but I saw that there was no wallet or anything in that pocket, so I backed off and basically told the other guys, we just have to wait for a detective to arrive.
Mr. Barker, you're not near a microphone. I don't know if you have your lapel mic on, but can you just make sure you're using a microphone? Thank you. I want to make sure folks can hear you. It's fine.
We get the lights, thank you. So aside from kind of reaching out into the pocket area, did you manipulate the
I
body?
did not know.
And could you tell at that point, just kind of that superficial view of what was going on with the body, could you tell if it was a homicide or an accident, anything of that nature?
I could not know.
What was the next step after you identified this was a deceased individual?
I made my way back. I made my best effort to stay on the path that had already been created by the Forest Service officers who originally checked on the deceased. I made my way back to them. I took photographs using the Axon Capture app. The first photographs I took were of the Forest Service officers' boots to try to help distinguish if there was any noticeable shoe prints available that they could kind of tell who was wearing what boots. And then I just took overall photographs of the area that we were in.
And since you were doing patrol at the time, is this the type of case that would have been turned over to the detectives?
Yes, it would. I knew a detective was on the way from having put it out over the radio. We unfortunately didn't have cell phone service, so I couldn't make any phone calls. Put it out over the radio, and I was told that a detective would be responding, so I knew it was going to be their scene. That's why we didn't manipulate the body or get any close-up photographs.
You mentioned cell phone service. In that area where the body was, cell phone service was non-existent.
I had zero cell phone service, and every officer that I was out there with had zero cell phone service. None of us could make phone calls.
When you approached that area, I mean, is there a section of that road leading into it where you did have cell phone service?
So yes, up until you get to that area and you go kind of deep into that 545 road, I was able to have service. I had service at the ranger station. Where exactly after that it cuts off, I wouldn't be able to give you a good estimate. But in that area, we did not have cell phone service.
Thank you. And then as you're waiting for the detectives to show up, are you essentially just security for the scene, making sure it's preserved?
That was our only purpose, was to make sure it was undisturbed due to the time of year. There wasn't a lot of travelers, so we had nobody cross our path or try to go down that 244 road.
All right. You have a moment, Judge? That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Griffin?
Good afternoon, Detective. Just a couple of follow-up questions, if I can.
Yes, sir.
So in terms of discovery and then assisting with the discovery of the deceased, you met with the female that found the body. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, briefly, yes.
You met her at the ranger station. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Right. Was it your understanding that you, United States Forest Service officials, had accompanied or had gone back to the scene and looked at the body before you arrived?
It was my understanding that they were there. Whether or not they left and then went back, I couldn't articulate that. I was told that they were there at the scene before I got there, yes.
So bottom line is you're the first Coconino County SO official to get.
Yes, yes.
Right. USFS people might have been there before.
As well as park rangers, yes.
Right. And then they were entrusting you with the follow-up investigation. Was that your understanding?
They were entrusting the sheriff's office, yes.
What's the drive time, if you could estimate for the jury, from 89 to the location where the deceased was found?
It would be depending on where from 89. Are you asking from where I came from?
Say you come off 89, come through Sunset Crater. So when you make the turn off 89, how much time would it take?
Oh, if you're going, I mean, if you went directly from 89 to Sunset Crater, the actual monument,
Right.
if I had to give a rough estimate, I'd say maybe anywhere between 20 to 35 minutes.
And is there any other, final question, is there any other way into the area where the deceased was found from another direction or another route?
There is, yes.
Explain that, please.
You can take the 244 road. You could take that all the way down. It gets a little bumpy and rough, but you could travel that all the way to basically Loop Road or also County Road 505. And then there's a multitude of spider-webbed off-roads that would get you there as well.
You have no further questions.
Mr. Barker?
Just briefly, Detective, so there's a north entrance, just north of where you entered the Sunset Crater area, right?
Yes.
And how far would, if you took that, do you know if you took that entrance, how far it would take, or how long it would take to get to the body?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I do not. I'm sorry.
All right, all right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Any questions for this witness from the jury before the witness is excused? All right, I don't see any indication there's any questions for this witness. Mr. Barker, may this witness be excused?
Yes, thank you.
You can step down, you're excused.
Your Honor.
Counsel, will you approach, please? All right, so I was just checking with counsel, and the state does have another witness ready to go, but it is 8 minutes till. So my thought is just to go ahead and recess a few minutes early versus just calling a witness that we could only have on the stand for a few minutes, being respectful of your schedules. So, and I did want to remind you too, I wanted a couple minutes here to remind you that tomorrow, could you please be in the jury rooms no later than 8:40 a.m., 8:40 a.m.? And that's because, remember, the jury clerk, and they reached out to me again through my judicial assistant, they want to meet with you tomorrow and explain the lengthy jury fund and the paperwork and what you need to submit if you'd like to request payment from that fund. So that'll give her a little bit of time to talk with you and answer any questions that you have. And then our hope, of course, is you'll be ready to go, and we'll be ready to go to bring you in. We'll be ready to go, but get you in here as close to 9 a.m. as possible tomorrow. All right. Remember the admonition. Keep an open mind. Do not formulate any opinions about the case. Do not talk to anyone about the case, and do not let anyone talk to you about it. We stand in recess till tomorrow morning. Thank you. Have a good evening. Please be seated. The record will reflect that jury's been excused for the evening recess. I've been wanting to make a record on some questions that were not asked by the jurors, so I'm going to do that real quick since we have a couple of minutes. I've been keeping track. So, and we number, the record will reflect this, that all the juror questions I number and they're part of the court file. So question number 3 was not asked. Both attorneys agreed that that should not be asked. And then question 13 was not asked. It had already been asked and answered per counsel. And question 17, which I think actually was really a question for the court, I did not ask because the court had just addressed it before we actually got the question. And then on question number 19, and this is because these weren't on the record. I don't believe these were on the record. That's why I want to make a record now. We did this sidebar. So question number 19, question number 1 on that page, the court did not ask. Attorneys for both parties agreed that it called for speculation. And then there was one sentence on question 29. Again, these are juror questions. I did not read that sentence. There was a particular sentence because it wasn't a question, and both attorneys also agreed for that reason to not read that sentence. And then questions that are marked 33, 34, and 35 were not asked. Counsel for both parties agreed they were not appropriate to ask, so they were not asked. And then lastly, there were 2 questions on what the court marked as juror question number 40, and counsel for both parties agreed that the first question should not be asked of that witness, and so the court did not ask it. So now I'm caught up. I'm just making a record on those. And again, I'm just making a record on those because I don't believe we were actually on the official record when counsel and I met to review the juror questions. All right. Counsel, anything further today?
No, thank you.
Okay. And then if we could just keep the normal schedule, if you could be here by 8:45 so I can check with you, see if you have any questions or if you need anything from the court, to include putting anything on the record prior to bringing the jury in at 9 a.m. All right. We stand in recess. That'll give you a break before this sentencing and change of plea we have to do. Sorry. At least it's just one thing. You're going to hang out for that, right? Okay.